All right. Hello, you guys. I know that it has been more than a month of Sundays since we have had our time together, but I'm back. I miss you all. Please forgive the brush on, but I'm sure you all would rather see the bra than the girls hanging to my lap. Anyway, for those of you who are subscribed, who've been here, who've seen me before, welcome back. It's me, I'm Mo, and we're just gonna hop in to another Life Conversations with Mo. For those of you who are visiting for the first time, welcome in. Make sure while you're getting adjusted and getting comfortable that you go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and share with your people, okay? Well, so let's hop in. I know that a lot has been going on. Happy New Year's to you all. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Black History Month. What else? Happy Founders Day to my sorors. All of that good stuff that has transpired. Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, all of that. Happy New Year, happy Thanksgiving. It's been that long since we've gotten together, but life has been lifing, and I have been putting my energy elsewhere. But I want y'all to know that I didn't forget about y'all, and so I'm back. Hopefully I could get some type of video uploaded out to you guys. At least my goal is to hang out with y'all at least once a week. I need y'all to be my accountability partners. But anyway, as you all know, I'm gonna always have some music in the background. It's funny because as soon as I turn Pandora on, who was on? U to the S to the H-E-R. Yeah, I'll be seeing you all at the concert in Atlanta. Can't wait to see that. But anywho, I wanted to hop on. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about. I saw 2 movies last week. Yes, your girl Mo was at the movie theater twice. In 1 week. OMG. However, both of the movies that I went to see, it was very enlightening. I learned a lot. So the first one I want to talk about is Origin, which is based off of the book. What's the name of the book? I'll drop the link to the name of the book in the comments. But it's Origin by Ava DuVernay. Takes a look into the differences between racism and the caste system. I know y'all like, what is the caste system? So happy that you asked me that. I am here to enlighten you all about that. So on this channel, we don't just talk about what's going on in life. We talk about everything, but this movie actually talks about what's going on in life. So we're right on target. Here in America, let's talk about in America. We know that I'll say 97%, these are just my numbers, don't quote me, don't come for me, but 97% of injustices, especially that are experienced by people of color. And I'm going to be specific because I can only talk about me. I'm a Black woman, I'm a Black American. About 97% of the disparages that we face are connected to racism. At least that's what we've been told, right? And it's like a catch-22. They're 2 sides to the same coin, right? Wages, voting, generational wealth or the lack thereof, whether you get that job or not, how you're treated by law enforcement, and we can go on and on. We can go on, as Money Long said, for hours and hours and hours, right? Talking about the things that, the inequities that faces my community. However, Ava DuVernay in this book that's called, I'm sorry, in the movie Origin, that's based on the book about the caste system, it delves into how different both of these systems are, racism and the caste system, right? Because it's easy for us to call something racism when something is happening to us, or we're being mistreated or treated in a way that's other than how we desire to be treated based on our color by another racial group. Would y'all agree? I knew you would. So it's easy to call it racism in that sense of the word, right? You have one group of people who consider themselves to be superior than another group. Okay, so two completely different ethnicities, we'll say that, because we're just one human race. I believe in that. I feel that that's, God created the human race. Color is not a race. Color is not a race. Turn around to your neighbor and say, color is not a race. Color is not a race. Okay? So it's really simple to see how, something like that would be racism. However, I've often thought about and tried to figure out or try to rationalize when you're experiencing mistreatment, inequities, disparages in the same ethnic group, people that look just like you. How, what is that? What does that mean? Well, that's where the caste system comes into play. In this movie, and this is a spoiler alert, so if you don't want to know, I'm going to tell you to stop the video and then come back and rewatch it after you've either read the book or you have seen the movie. In this movie, Ava DuVernay, the main character, she is married to a Caucasian man, a white man. The main character, she's a black woman, of course, and her mother is an older black American who likely grew up, the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, in that era, doing Jim Crow, things of that nature. So the way that her mother carried herself and raised the main character to carry herself is that when you're around white Americans, you should always want to and need to be buttoned up. You should always act a certain way. There's just certain things that you don't do, and there's certain things that you do, right? And that was just, that came with the time. That's how she grew up. And so she had to adapt in order to stay alive, right? And so with her daughter marrying this white American, it definitely created some dynamics that I'm sure were uncomfortable over time. However, the relationship between the husband and the mom was a beautiful one. You can tell that over time it was absolutely amazing. Her husband died, and so she started to, she remembered this conversation, a statement that her mom had made prior. And her mom passed shortly thereafter. So both of the main people that are in her life are gone, right? But she started to delve into what racism really is and how that transfers to, the mistreatment within one ethnic group. So she talked about this this renowned PhD doctor that is from India. So he's Indian. So if you know anything about India, you know that all of these are brown skinned people, right? like they're all brown skinned, they're all dark skinned people. And so there's one ethnicity in India. They're Indian. Okay. Of course, you have people who move there, but for the sake of argument, they're Indian. However, over in India, whatever family that you're born into, whatever the occupation is, whatever's connected to that family, regardless of what, your education that you may acquire, whatever, you're only going to be allowed to stay in that social class. So what does that mean? So the doctor that she studied and met with and things of that nature, he was world renowned here in outside of India. He had 2 PhDs, so very smart, highly intelligent gentleman. However, his family were considered untouchables. They were untouchables, right? What does untouchable mean? That's exactly what it is. Nobody gonna touch you. You pretty much was born into squalor. Those type of things. So here we have social classes. Everywhere else they have social classes. And so what the main character, what she wanted to do is show how all of it is connected around the world. Everyone has a system of haves and have-nots. And so it's called the caste system, because it's hard to say something is racism when that person is inevitably you. But it is possible to have social inequalities, which come in the form of the caste system. Okay, so you have this world-renowned PhD. He's a double PhD, as long as he is not in India. The moment that he goes back home to India, he's an untouchable. So if your family are sanitation workers, everybody in your family is a sanitation worker. If your if your family is are seamstress, everybody in the family is a seamstress. Like, there's no way to escape or to get out of what it is that you're born into. Whereas, you want to say here in the States, you have the American dream. Depends on who you ask and what time of day, right? Here in the States, you educate yourself, you put yourself in a position to be more successful, to get more than what your ancestors have. That's what Black Americans have been doing since the beginning of time. Okay, we get educated, we create businesses, and we put ourselves in a position to change what has been. Well, that's not the case, and I'm sure that this happens in other countries, but they highlighted India. So the caste system, that's what it is. These people, this PhD doctor, because he was considered an untouchable, when he was growing up and going to school, he couldn't share the same watering, let's call it water fountain. He couldn't use the same one as the other students. As a matter of fact, he couldn't use it. The teacher would have to put water in a basin, and he would literally have to hold his head back and they pour it in his mouth. And of course, it would go everywhere. And you could tell that a lot of the actions were deliberate. He could not sit at a desk. He had to learn sitting on the floor. He could not rise above the social, the social status that his family had. And is pretty much saying, you are what you are, you're never going to go above that. Whereas, of course, you have your privileged ones. They're there, they're going to stay there. Education or not, that's what they are. So I wanted to ask you all a question. How do you feel, what are your thoughts on, the differences between a caste system, which focuses solely, is what's the word I want to say, interracial, interethnic type of deal. It limits you to whatever society has deemed you to be, whatever society has deemed your family to be. No more, no less. Whatever the family is, you can go and get 35 PhDs. You're still going to be an untouchable. So I want to know, what do you all think about that? Do you feel that there's some validity to that? And I also want to know, what do you think about, and do you feel that there's a difference between the caste system and racism? I want you all to answer these questions down in the chat, because I'm going to be communicating back and forth with you, because I think this is something that we really need to identify, something that we really need to address. So the caste system versus racism. Now, one thing that I noticed, and again, this is my personal opinion, for Black Americans here in the States, I feel that we experience racism and the caste system. And again, it's just my opinion. But again, I want to hear from you all as to what you think and how you feel about that. So that was the first movie. It's called Origin by Ava DuVernay, and is based on a book that was written about the caste system, the differences between racism and social inequities within one ethnic group. That's that. The second movie that I knew that I wanted to see as soon as the previews came out last year was One Love, Bob Marley, or Bob Marley One Love. OMG, y'all, I learned so much about Mr. Robert Bob Marley in this movie. First of all, I didn't realize that he was so young when he transitioned from this earth to the next. Bro was 36, y'all. He was 36. Another thing that I learned was that the young man who originally attempted to assassinate him, unalive him in his life, however you want to say it, came back. First of all, I'm trying to figure out how is it that he was able to walk back into the same house that he tried to kill him in the first place. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. But he came back and asked Bob Marley to forgive him. And forgive him he did. So I learned that. And something that I guess I should have known, but didn't really, was that Bob Marley didn't die from being murdered. He was not assassinated. He transitioned and he died from cancer that manifested, in his toe. So again, yeah, we, in our community, people of color, first of all, if something is wrong with your body, something doesn't look right, please don't put it off. Go see about yourself, because we need you all here, especially my Black kings, because one thing I know about a Black man, his wife, his girl, his significant other can sneeze and he wants to take her to the hospital emergency room. She can get a splinter. Babe, let's go to the emergency room. However, y'all can be sitting up here about to lose a whole lung, a whole toe, and 5 fingers, and you won't go nowhere. So take care of your bodies. So that's that. So yeah, I didn't realize that Robert, Mr. Bob Marley, was out in these streets either. I didn't realize he was out in the streets. But he was. He had, I believe, 8 children. By he had a roster. We'll say that. he had a roster, and the way that and I'm gonna have to read up on this as well, but I don't think that he married his wife like immediately. So she, endured all of that in their relationship. Now I was talking to the kid yesterday. It was either yesterday or the day before, and we were talking about. It was yesterday because she went to see the movie in Texas yesterday. We were talking about the fact that he was a serial cheater, philanderer, whatever you want to call it, and he fathered many children outside of his marriage. However, he, his songs and the type of person that he was, and that they portrayed him to be in this movie, was of this man who was quick and easy to forgive. So we were dissecting this and trying to make it make sense. We was like, oh my goodness, he could forgive someone who tried to end his life. However, he wouldn't, or wasn't willing to be faithful to his wife, his girl, mother of his children. And so we were trying to figure out, like, what is that? And so, Miriam, she asked me, she was like, I don't get it. What is that? And I said, well, oftentimes we will overcompensate in one area of our lives because there's another area in our life that, it ain't doing what it's supposed to do, right? And so it also took me to a point of recognizing that, grace is sufficient. Grace is sufficient for us all, right? Because we all fall short. And a lot of times we think that if we work hard, if we do this a little bit more, if we pray a little bit more, if we don't see that person, if we don't do that, if we don't say this, we try to make it seem as if we have the ability to fix something or change something, when inevitably, I think I said that word right. I could never get it right, but it's gonna have to work. We can't. It always has and always will take a higher power, a power or being that's greater than ourselves. So, it doesn't matter what religion you're connected to. We know that religion is about rules and regulations. And those rules and regulations aren't necessarily there, at least for, the commandments. They weren't there, to help us be better. Those rules and regulations are actually there to show us that we are flawed and that we need a helper, we need a savior, right? And so, as Miriam and I were talking about it, I was like, it's just proof positive that, in one area we fall short every day, and then in another area we're able to be, to give more than enough. So if you look at it, you continue to think, I'm going to do this perfect, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. There's always going to be an area in our lives or in your life that's going to fall short, especially if you continue to depend on yourself. So yeah, y'all can tell I went to church today, right? So I want to hear what you all thought about the Bob Marley movie. I love, his message. One thing, that he said is that, his glory doesn't come from this life. That was a sermon in and of itself. That was a word in and of itself. But I want to know, I want to know some of your favorite Bob Marley songs, how they minister to you. I want to know if you knew these things about Bob Marley, if you knew that he was 36 when he died, if you knew that he died from cancer, if you knew that he was a serial philanderer. I want to know. Let's have a conversation about this movie, One Love, the Bob Marley story. So real quick, so I gave you all two, I guess, movie reviews. I thoroughly enjoyed Origin. It's fitting for Black History, and so is One Love, the Bob Marley story. I want to hear you all's input. Drop it down in the comments. Again, definitely appreciate you all for hanging out with me for these 25-30 minutes. Again, it's been a minute since we've hung out. I know this video was a little bit long, but we got a lot of stuff, other stuff that we need to catch up on. I want to talk to y'all about you know, Meg and Nikki. That whole saga. I want to talk about that because I thought it was hilarious. There's just so many things that I want to talk to you about, and I want you all to talk back to me. So again, like this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you can get all the notifications when I'm uploading a video, whether it's a short, whether it's a full-length video. And then I want you all to share this on all your social media platforms. Send it in an email to someone who you may think would enjoy the content, because this is Life Conversations with Mo. So we talk about life, whatever that looks like for you, whatever that looks like for me. And I can't wait for this year to be an amazing one. And, you know, me hanging out with y'all and y'all hanging out with me. So as always, I definitely and I thoroughly appreciate y'all for hanging out with me. It's always peace up. A-Town is always down. And I will catch you all in the next video.